You're listening to the Journey Podcast. How can you navigate the human experience gracefully and master stress management and trauma? Find out more in today's episode. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Journey Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. Life can be hard to navigate. We have many things to deal with on a daily basis, and we can often feel overwhelmed and stressed out. How can we navigate the human experience gracefully? In this episode, I had the privilege of speaking with Brenda Coulter, who shared how she helps her clients manage stress and release trauma for a more peaceful and fulfilled life. Her holistic approach embraces her clients' personal experiences and supports their individual healing journeys to work with their pain and find resilience and beauty in their lives. Brenda Coulter is a certified life coach, author, and the owner of Her Beautiful Mind and Yamoja Moon Goddess Ltd. Using her role as an emotional wellness expert, mindset trainer, and spiritualist, Brenda presents stress management in a way that makes it clear and practical to others. Her holistic approach to healing helps individuals understand that the pathway to conscious healing and navigating the human experience is not always a clear or easy one. Oftentimes along the way, it is useful to have an aid to help lessen the impact. Brenda offers coaching services, workshops, emotional wellness training programs, and even tarot readings to assist you in your journey from mindfulness to heartfulness to soulfulness. Brenda's motto is, "Pain only lasts so long before it manifests into magnificence." And she's made it her mission in life to show the world that no matter where you've come from, no matter how you've been burned, it's always possible to rise up from the ashes and begin anew. Here is my interview with Brenda Coulter. Hi, Brenda. It's so great to have you on the podcast. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because conscious healing is such an interesting topic for holistic healing. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm happy to be on and talking to you today.
Yes, I am so glad that you're here. And for starters, can you share a little bit about yourself and how you got onto this path and into this work that you're doing?
You know, it's so interesting. Like, I've always kind of been that go-to person for my friends. Like, someone needs someone to talk to, or they have a problem that they need to work out. And I've just always been that person. And it really started out as like a hobby on social media. I would put up a post and they would be like, "Oh, well, I want to share this out," but I've always been very private. And I'm like, well, how about I create like a Facebook page where you can share out like my anecdotes and things like that. And they were like, "That's great." It morphed into people starting to come to me for like advice, random people who I had no clue who they were. And after that, I decided that I needed to get some sort of training, some sort of aid to make sure that what I was doing and saying to people was actually helpful and like scientifically supported. So that's where I got the life coaching certification. And it really has just kind of unfolded in its own way since then.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing journey that you've been on as well. And throughout that time, when did you kind of figure out that you felt called to help others in their healing? Was there a certain point or something that happened where you thought, yeah, this is what I want to do?
Absolutely. So like I used to be one of those like, "Oh, why me? Woe is me? Why me? Why is this happening to me?" And one day I was like, you know what? I actually want an answer to this question. I don't want to be just kind of arbitrarily throwing it out into the universe like, why me? Like as a martyr, I really want an answer to this question. And I really took some time and I sat down and like through lots of meditation and prayer. And it really came to me that I experience things so that I can provide an opportunity to help someone else go through the same things. Because some of the random things that happen in my life, and people are like, you can't have possibly have gone through all of this. And then I'll meet someone a few months later or a few weeks later who's like, this is what I'm experiencing. And I'm like, whoa, well, I just went through that, so I can help you get through that. And I started to realize it's kind of, I call it my universal purpose, is to kind of experience so that I can then aid and help people heal through their experiences as well.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. Now, you're talking about life coaching and also your experiences. And so, before we talk a little bit about what it is that you do with the life coaching, why do you feel that it's important that people learn to separate their human experience from their soul's journey? Are those two different things in your opinion? Are they connected, or how does that work?
Very much so. So I always tell people everything is connected. So, I mean, they are connected in a way, but I also believe that the human experience is a little separate as it requires us to kind of master a more simplistic, like five sensory perception, your five senses. And it's all about what you've seen, what you've done, what emotions have you felt, what outcomes have you experienced as a result. So navigating the human experience masterfully kind of requires us to go within and become intentional about those things like stress management and trauma healing and just continued overall growth. But then once we master the human experience, that's when we get into what I call our universal purpose, or that multisensory perception. That the first person I heard talk about it was Gary Zukav, who's an author. He's amazing. And he wrote Universal Human. And it's all about learning and navigating where we need to figure out how to heal and grow at a soul level. So this is really understanding our soul's inception and this life, as well as past lives, and how they come together to create the experience that we're having currently.
Oh, that's really interesting. And how do you utilize your life coaching certification and experience in helping people with some of the things that you just mentioned, like stress management or even trauma healing?
So I created a program. Well, myself and my business partner created a program that's really all about trauma healing and stress management. It is a model that is loosely based on cognitive behavioral therapy, but it kind of throws in a little dialectical behavioral therapy. So it's all about understanding your thoughts and emotions, because most of what we feel really comes from this very unhealthy thought life that we have learned just through the human experience, that oh, this is just the way that I think. This is just the way that I am. And most of us don't realize that through mindfulness, you can lead kind of yourself to that stress management place, but it really requires you to dig in and do the work. So it's through this model called STEER that we actually walk people through the process. Let's talk about what is the situation? What are the thoughts that you're having about it? What are the emotions that are coming up as a result of those thoughts? And then how can we make better outcomes, create better outcomes emotionally? And then ultimately, how do they manifest in the physical? So it's a very almost scientific process that we have when it comes to the mindfulness portion of my life coaching practice, because I feel like, as I said, that human experience is what we have to master first. And we really have to get into that thought life management in order to manage our stress better.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And what kind of clients do you usually work with in your life coaching practice? Do they come to you with anything in particular, anything that you've seen sort of many times over? Or are there many different things that you work with?
So usually I work a lot with mothers who just want to learn how to parent better. They have their own experiences as not just as moms, but as children, and they still have their own traumas that they have from childhood that they're figuring out how to work out, and they want to parent their children in a way so that they are not continuing this cycle. They want to break generational curses. So most of my clients are moms who either are new moms or moms who just want to learn a little bit more about, I know what most people call gentle parenting, but I'm like, I just think it's just regular parenting. I think what we've had before has been kind of harsh and in your face parenting. And this new wave of people who want to parent in a more gentle way is really beautiful.
Hmm. Yeah, I've heard about that from a few coaches and also motherhood coaches now, that there's this renewed interest in parenting in a different kind of way. So That's really great that you're offering that as well.
It is. It's so beautiful that moms want to just learn how to, because I had a tough childhood myself. My experience with my mother was not great. And it was actually through this program and implementing STEER that I was like, you know what? I think instead of me expecting her to be anything different, I can appreciate that she did the best with what she had and we did a whole lot of work together. So I really believe that there's healing on both ends in programs like this for not only moms who have children and want to become better parents, but even who are trying to understand their parents in a way that they can heal from the past or what they've experienced.
And there's a lot that goes into that journey, not just parenting, but also, when we're talking about mental health and we're talking about holistic healing. And there's a lot of things, items that go into that just from our own childhood, from our past, as you mentioned, possibly our past lives as well, could be generational. So there's actually a lot of pieces to that puzzle that need to come together. So,
There
yeah.
are. Absolutely.
Yeah. And relating to mental health in particular, can you utilize life coaching in that respect as well? Can you use it to help with, say, anxiety? You mentioned stress management or sort of low mood and depression. Can life coaching help with that?
Absolutely. So I always I always encourage my clients to at least have experienced some traditional form of therapy or counseling or something like that. I love to work in conjunction with therapists because I think that people understand that there is an alignment that's attached to kind of the life coaching as well as the counseling. So I'm like, you're a counselor. If you think about like a road, which we can really resonate with right now in the city that I live in. Our roads are awful. So I'm like, if you think about a road and your therapist will help you kind of dig out all of the bad stuff, fill in that hole, replace it, and make sure that you're driving really smoothly. Whereas me, as a life coach, I'm going to teach you the practical things that you need to do to be able to drive around that pothole. What do you need to do to get around it so that you're not bumping all over the place in your car and ending up with a flat tire? How can I help you to navigate your way around this as you and your therapist work to actually dig in and fix it? So I do really believe that there is an arena for life coaching and mental health because I'm helping with like those day-to-day functions. Like you said, the anxiety, that day-to-day depression, whereas most therapists are working on sort of the root cause behaviors and experiences. And while those do come up in my work, they are not my primary focus. I'm really trying to help you just navigate day by day.
That's interesting that you highlight that difference that exists a little bit between therapy and life coaching, because I find that those approaches do actually complement each other because they look at the issue from a different perspective each. And so it can be very helpful to utilize them together, as you have mentioned.
Absolutely.
And I kind of have a bit of a loaded question for you because I'm wondering, what do you think about healing? And do you believe that we ever come out fully healed?
So I believe that healing is like happiness. Have you ever heard that quote that's like, happiness is not a destination, it's a journey? And I believe
Yeah.
it's the same thing when it comes to healing. I don't believe that we ever arrive at a place to where it's like, oh, this is it. I'm all healed and I'm done. It's sort of like where you note it, like there are so many different pieces to put in, like in this one incarnation right now. I am trying to navigate my current life, my current human experience, my past life experiences that are still impacting me to this day, my universal lessons, all of those things. I do not believe we ever come to a point to where we're fully healed because I believe that our souls are always evolving and we have to come to a point to where we at least understand the nature of our personal healing so that we can navigate our human experience in a more productive way, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. And it does make sense in particular because we evolve throughout our lifetime as well. And we have new experiences all the time. So to me, that makes sense that our healing is a journey that we undertake sort of from the moment that we're born into this life until the moment that we close our eyes. And it is never really completed because there are things that happen to us all the time that are different from what happened before. And then we need to address those. And we do experience them all throughout the lifetime as well. So,
And I think that there's peace in accepting that and knowing that you may not come to a point to where you're like, dun, 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 I have healed. I am all healed and it's over and I'm done. Like I still have things that come up for me and I'm like, oh, I thought I was over that. But it kind of hits me somewhere in my heart or in my soul. I'm like, okay, yeah, I definitely thought I worked through that. And I have. And now I know how to navigate this in a way that I don't have to be stressed out about it. I don't have to be upset with myself about it because I'm upset about whatever this thing is. There's a piece that's attached to knowing like I'll never be 100% just healed and okay from a thing. And that's okay as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I do feel that when we learn this kind of empowerment that you're talking about by learning some tools or techniques that we can utilize in our own healing journey, that gives us a whole different level of power in our healing. It kind of brings this control back into ourselves, and we can choose, to utilize these tools in our healing journey, and we can empower ourselves and our bodies and minds to heal. So I love the idea that through your life coaching, you also empower people to take back that control over their healing journey. That's really beautiful.
Like, that's why I use the pothole analogy, because that's like my hashtag, be the driver. Be the driver of your own life. Be the driver of your own experiences. You get to decide exactly what the navigation of this journey is going to look like. And like you said, when you have these tools, you just simply feel more empowered to be the driver, to be the person who controls the outcome and decides exactly what it's going to look like for you in a way that's healthy for you and that you can appreciate and can just continue to move forward and learn and grow.
Mm-hmm. And that in itself is really powerful as well, because oftentimes we can feel very helpless when we don't know what to do or we don't know which direction to head in or how to resolve something. So being given these tools and learning new methods and ways to empower our healing is very, very important. And I'm really glad to hear that you offer that in your services and that you help empower people to be the driver. That is so important.
I'm telling you, when I tell people, I'm like, this is what I call a self-coaching model. My goal is to put myself out of work. I don't want to find reasons to have to continue to be your life coach. No, I want to hand you these tools in a case that you can pull out whenever you want so that you can use them. And that's ultimately my goal with all of my clients, for them to come to the point to where it's like, nice knowing you, lady. I don't need you anymore. And I'm like, that's great. That's fantastic. I want to put me out of work. I want you to have no more use for me in your life when we're finished working together.
Yeah, well, I love that. I do hope that you still have lots of clients, but I love that because that's a wonderful goal in helping people be their own advocates for their healing. So that's a
They
great
turn
goal.
into friends, or they show up in other aspects of my practice and they'll go, oh, well, can I have a Reiki session? Or do you know what I mean? So it's like they still stay connected, but they don't need me in the life coach capacity as they did when they first started out. And that's so beautiful for me. I get so excited when people get to that point to where it's like, no, I think we're done. And it's usually like a baby bird to where I'm kind of kicking them out and I'm like, yeah, I think you're done with your program. And they're like, no, I think I need more. And then I'm like, okay, 30 days. Let's not talk for 30 days and we'll see what you need after that. And usually after that 30 days, they're like, no, you're right. I really don't think I need any more sessions. And that just shows me that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you talked a little bit about mindfulness before as well. So I'm just curious, do you combine your life coaching with other techniques as well as you're working with your clients, like mindfulness, or you mentioned Reiki also? Are there any other things that you combine it with?
Absolutely. So I always say we're going on a journey from mindfulness to heartfulness to soulfulness. So my goal, as I said, is kind of starting with the human experience, getting this mindfulness in order, teaching people exactly what meditation is, clearing up some misconceptions that we often hear about meditating, and then ingratiating the Reiki so that we can understand all about energy and what that's doing kind of in the heartfulness and the soulfulness portion. So even like to tarot reading. Some people, as we navigate this journey, we want to pull our natal charts and we want to have conversations about, okay, so this is an experience that you've maybe had then. I've recently been kind of dabbling. I'm not offering it to my clients yet, and I don't know that I will, but kind of dabbling in like Akashic records and things like that, just figuring out how we can bring the most information as possible to a client or to a session and figure out how can we use all of this information that we have about your life experience and your incarnations that can help you to aid you in this healing process. So yeah, I use a little bit of everything.
It sounds like you really approach this from many different perspectives. What can be really, really helpful in a healing journey is to just gain a different way of looking at your experience or what's going on at the moment. Even just that shift in perspective can be really helpful.
Absolutely. For me personally, I recently had an experience to where like I became a mom at a very young age and just had kind of really rough experiences like navigating my relationship with my children. And I had my chart done and found out that there is karma attached to me regarding children and childbirth. So they were like, you probably became a mom at a very young age. And I'm like, well, yeah, I did. And they're like, and you might have a special needs kid. I'm like, well, yeah, I do. And they're like, yeah, there's karma there. So it made it make sense for me. Of course, you don't want to hear that you have negative karma attached to you regarding children. I'm like, what did I do? What did I do in that past life? But to find out that it still ties in and it gave me a sense of reason and understanding for some of my current life experiences. And that in and of itself was able to bring me peace about something that I had been beating myself up about for years. So I do think it's very important to use all of the tools and methods that we have available to contribute to our healing because they're made available for that reason.
Yeah, that's true. And could you go over some of your programs and services so that listeners can get a feel for how they could connect with you in their healing journey?
Absolutely. So I have one program called the Transcendence Beyond program. It is really for new moms who mostly come to me for that one, who are just now learning how to become a parent, who probably have past traumas because we talk about ACEs, which are adverse childhood experiences, and how they impact our brains and our actions into adulthood and even our bodies as well. So that one is really that kind of trauma informed coaching program. And I do group sessions or we can do one-on-one. I really prefer the groups because I think it's great to have kind of that community that builds around one another. But then I also have reflections, and reflections is kind of this journey that we're talking about here, from mindfulness to heartfulness to soulfulness. While the Transcendence Beyond program is about 6 weeks long, reflections is 3 months long because we run through this whole entire process and we work together one-on-one 3 times a week for about 90 minutes each of those times. So it's pretty intense healing work, but I really build out the program to be based upon kind of the belief systems and the feelings of the people who I work with. Some people who I work with, they don't want tarot readings. They don't want Akashic records. They just want to heal the human experience, and that's okay. So we kind of work together in a consultation to figure out what you need, and then we follow the program as needed for you. So those are offered in groups and one-on-one as well.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Those sound like very, very interesting programs. And it sounds like you're creating a really amazing and safe space for people to start their healing journey in as well.
That's my goal, to get a group of people who understand like you are not alone. And we have like a whole Discord group. Once people leave the program, they go into the Discord group. And I'm telling you, that group is so fun. Like I wish I could spend more time in there, but they have a good time in there. And it's really good for people to be able to go somewhere and to say, you know what, here are some people who I at least know to some degree. And I know that they'll understand me and that they won't judge me. And that's been the goal, to build a whole community around these individuals and these programs.
That's beautiful. And Brenda also has her own podcast called Opinionated and Enlightened. And you can listen in from your favorite podcast provider. And Brenda, I'm just wondering, how do you feel that your podcast contributes to your overall message of healing in that sense?
So the podcast is my overall method of healing. Like it's so therapeutic and cathartic for me because it's where I go to kind of, I wouldn't say vent because I'm not a big venter, but I have noticed that when it comes to consciousness, spirituality, and things like that, there's so many misconceptions. So my goal is to clear out the misconceptions so that we can give individuals a better understanding, kind of a clean slate understanding, so that they can make conscious and informed decisions about if this spirituality does or does not work from you in whatever way that it makes sense. So usually for most people, it's kind of the beginning of their journey because they're like, oh, well, I thought that tarot cards were a bad thing, or I thought that you can't believe in God and be spiritual at the same time. So it's really clearing up those kind of misconceptions that have kind of pigeonholed people into one specific belief system and allowing them to kind of expand their minds and understand it from different perspectives. So it's really the beginning of the healing journey for most.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you so much for that work that you do, because I feel it is so important to keep the doors open and to explain and to kind of highlight all of the different things that are available so that, as you say, people don't just get shoved into a corner or into one stereotype and they miss out on everything else that could be out there for them. So
Right.
thank you so much for that.
No problem. Thank you for this space. Like, I've been listening to your episodes and they're awesome. They've been great and helpful for me even. So I'm like, this has been
Thank
really
you.
good. I love this.
Yeah, I love the fact that we're creating a sort of community just in the healing space as well by coming together with all of these great providers and practitioners that have so much wisdom and knowledge like yourself that they're offering people in their healing journey. So yeah, it's been a wonderful experience.
Yes, I love it. So yes, please keep doing what you're doing. It's been amazing to listen to.
No, thank you. And you as well. And we will be linking to all of Brenda's offerings in the show notes as well. So be sure to check those out and find out how you can connect with her directly. She's a lovely lady to work with. So I would highly recommend checking that out. And this has been another incredible episode. And I really hope our listeners have enjoyed the journey into conscious healing as much as I have. It has been fantastic chatting with you on the podcast, Brenda. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. You've been amazing. Thank you.
Thanks. And take care, Brenda.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Journey podcast, please subscribe, share on social media, and leave us a review. And be sure to get your copy of our brand new ebook called Break Free. Sending you love and courage, and see you next week. Until then, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and the Journey blog.